Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to play another training game today, another 15+10. Hopefully, like in the last game, I don't get into time trouble, so I managed to have enough time on the clock last game. However, I did make a few blunders. Okay, I'm going to play a Caro-Kann. In this one, I thought about playing the Sicilian for this game if I got black against e4, but somehow I just prefer the Caro-Kann. h3, I guess, is the main move. Then a take on f3 and queen takes f3 and e6. There are other ways to play this with black, but I kind of like the positions in which I managed to get my bishop outside of the pawn chain. Okay, he did not play h3. That's, I have to say, a slightly strange decision, because now I have a c6, I have the c6 square for my knight, and we have the exchange variation with his knight on c3. That means that I'm free to play knight c6 here. He does not have c3 like in the exchange, so bishop d3 is really hard to play. So that's, I would say, a big downside of this move order. I'm not familiar with the variation he is playing. At the end of the game, if I remember, and hopefully I do remember, I'm going to show you what I mean. Because in the exchange, he can choose not to allow my bishop to g4. And normally this bishop belongs on f4. So this is already slightly strange. So okay, I'm going to play knight f6, which is normal. He plays bishop d3, which is why he played bishop e3. And then I play e6. And the problem is, since his bishop is not on f4, I can play bishop d6, because these exchange Caro-Kann structures are all about who gets the squares for the bishops. And if I can get in bishop d6, then I should be perfectly fine. Also, after I castle, if his bishop is on d3 and he doesn't have a pawn on c3, I can play knight b4. So I think black is already equal here, maybe even slightly better, although I'm not sure. But still, I think, yeah, bishop to d3 is the sensible way to play. Okay, he prevents knight b4, which is a good idea, but okay, maybe bishop d6 runs into knight b5. But then again, I don't really want to play a6 if I don't have to. And playing a6 b5, going for a minority attack without his pawn on c3 isn't such a great option. I still feel that a6 is necessary because I want to play bishop d6. I don't see what he does in the meantime unless he castles. So I'm going to play a6 because I really don't think my bishop makes too much sense on e7. Now I also have Queen's Gambit declined ideas, and this is again similar to the Queen's Gambit declined exchange in reverse, where black usually has a pawn on c6. Okay, definitely don't give up my bishop. Okay, this is very aggressive. I have to say, well, maybe it's justified because the pin is annoying, but I'm controlling e5 too much, so he doesn't have knight e5. Also, he doesn't have knight h4, taking my bishop for free, and I'm not too sure he wants to take on g6 with the bishop. So I'm basically playing the white side of the Queen's Gambit declined, but I have a favorable position because his knight is on c3 instead of his pawn. Okay, so if I castle, he takes on g6. I can play rook c8, that's a good waiting move. Against that, he could go bishop to g5, I guess. Okay, I definitely castle kingside. I mean, the only question is, do I take on d3 first? Is my pawn good on g6 or not? I don't think my pawn is good on g6. I can also play knight e4. Knight takes, pawn takes, but then I liberate his c pawn. Okay, the reason why I'm going to take on d3 is so that bishop g5 can be chased away. So I'm going to take. I don't like positions where he can play bishop g5 and I don't have h6. Okay, now I'm going to play h6 to prevent g5, also to prevent bishop g5. And then my plan is to go rook c8, maybe transfer my bishop to b8 so that I can stare at the long diagonal too. And the plan should be b5, rook c8, b5, and then maybe knight a5. Okay. Now this leaves him with a weakness. I mean, I'm going to, of course, play b5 here. And he's going to have to deal with this pawn on c2. So I think after b4 I should be strategically much better because he has a weakness and I don't. And I also have a plan to go knight d7, b6, c4, which is just great. Of course, he doesn't have time for a4 because knight b4 comes with tempo on the queen. Sorry if you can hear my chair, I have a weird chair. What's bishop d2? Okay, I will play rook c8 because that's a flexible waiting move to make sure I discourage any possible g5 sacks or h4 sacks. Okay, he jumps in. queen c7 is definitely an option, but maybe he wants to play f4. If I castle kingside and he plays h4, I can take the knight and then take on g4. If I play queen b6, what does he do? Knight back to f3? Take on c6? Okay, queen b6. What's the refutation of queen b6? If bishop e3, then I don't take the knight, because he takes with the pawn and... Well, actually, queen b6, bishop e3. Bishop takes e5, d takes e5, d4, attacking the bishop, attacking the knight. Maybe queen b6 is a bit too much. But queen b6, bishop e3, queen c7 is interesting. I like that. Queen b6, and after bishop e3 I go queen c7. And the threat is both taking here and the discovery on the knight on c3. Okay, so that's... I think he has to play bishop e3. Because if he plays knight f3, he just wasted the tempo. I think I'm correct there, that if he plays bishop e3, I can play queen c7. And then my threat is knight takes b4 or knight takes e5. Okay, and now queen c7 was the plan. Let's continue with the plan. So now I have two threats. I have a threat of knight takes e5, and I have a threat of knight takes b4. Because once we exchange queens and he plays rook takes a6, I can take on c2 and I'm a pawn ahead. And of course, if his knight ever moves away from c3, then I have knight e4. The reason why I'm delaying castling, and that could be strange, is that I'm slightly worried about some weird pawn advance, even with some sacrifices. Okay. What am I missing? Can I not also just take on d4? That could be even better than knight takes b4. Okay, not knight b4 is better because then he doesn't have knight takes d5, but he has knight b5. Oh, my bishop is hanging at the end of the line. Okay, knight b4. If knight b5, then knight d3, and knight c7 check, and rook c7, and c d3. That's not too good. And if knight takes d4, then knight takes d5. And then knight takes d5. Knight d4, knight d5, knight d5. He probably takes my knight, and probably with the queen. And then queen takes c2. How scary is rook c1? Maybe instead of okay, I have to calculate. Knight d4, knight takes d5 is probably critical. And then knight takes d5. Queen takes d4. And I don't think I can take on c2, but I can take on e3. And then take on f, and then take on e5, I feel. This is too complicated. Okay, let's go over knight b4 again. Knight b4, if a b4, then queen c3, rook c3, rook a6. And my bishop is hanging. So that's not good. If knight d4, then knight d5. And then knight d5 and queen d4. And then knight e3. And then rook e3. I'm going to take it. I think it works. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. Knight d4, bishop d4. Oh my god, I almost missed that. Knight d4, bishop d4. I looked at knight b4 and then I started looking at knight d4 and it simply doesn't work because he takes with the bishop. Oh my god. I just realized he takes with the bishop. Okay, 4 minutes wasted for nothing. Okay, then let's occupy the e4 square somehow. Can I move my knight away if I don't take on b4? Well, actually this could work. Knight b4, a b4, queen c3, rook c3, rook a6. I have bishop takes b4. Knight b4, a b4. queen c3, queen c3, rook c3, rook a6, bishop b4. Okay, I'm going to do it. I think it works. I think it works. I missed that I have bishop b4 in the end there. So my bishop is not attacked. I can just... I think this works. Oh, I can't believe I almost took on d4. That's insane. I was looking at knight b4, and of course there's no bishop takes on knight b4. And then I spotted knight d4, which is insane. If I'd played that, it would have been so hard to publish this game. Now whatever happens, even if this is wrong, it's easier. I saw it. I'm so happy I saw it. If he takes on b5, then I take the queen. He takes my queen with check. I take with the rook. He takes my knight. Okay. Now queen d3, knight c7. Sorry, knight d3, knight c7, rook c7, c d3. I mean, I have to take. I shouldn't think about this. Maybe I can take with the bishop. I don't think I should take with the bishop. Because that would give him the option of knight takes d3. This way at least I have a slightly better pawn structure. I don't get the e4 square, which is unfortunate, but I have a slightly better pawn structure. Okay, now finally castle. Finally. Okay, next I have rook c3 ideas. I don't want to take his knight. I don't want to allow his rook into the position, so he maybe has rook b1 for rook b6. That could be annoying, but I think I can deal with that with knight d7. I can't believe I almost played bishop, knight takes d4. Okay, he does this. I'm happy to see this, because now rook b1 is not a threat. Well, it is after we exchange, but then at least I have bishop a3, so he drops a very important pawn. Endgames should be better for me. Because I always have this rook c3 idea. I'm not really sure how he deals with that. The only thing I have to make sure is that I don't drop the f7 pawn, which for the moment is not dropping. Okay, let's just see where his king goes. Because now... no, okay. I had the idea that I could now take on a3, because if he takes on c2, I take with check, but his king is going to move. Okay. On second thought, this may have been a bad idea. Okay, I'm going to trade off all the rooks because I think the endgames are better for me. I just helped his king up the board, which is stupid. I should not have done that. Okay. Now I need to get my king in. His knight can go here, but then my bishop is... Okay, I don't want to give up my bishop here and fix his pawns. So my plan is to play king e7 and on knight c6 play king d8, king d7. And then if he goes back, then I could take because my king is much closer. He has a problem with playing, excuse me, a4, because then my bishop gets the b4 square. Okay. So he will be able to create a passed pawn here. Unless I can blockade it. With knight here. So the question is, do I play bishop e5, pawn takes, knight h5, and then g6? I don't think I should be doing that. I don't like that one bit, because he can always just defend these two squares with his bishop, and my knight is dead. But now I have to be really careful about moving my king. Okay, now the plan was to go bishop b4. Unfortunately, he has knight c6. Okay, so I will give my knight a square like this. On f5, I feel that should be good. Because then I'm stopping his pawn from queening. And now he doesn't have any targets, and I have a target on g5 and the target on d4. And I could also go to h5, but I think that f5 is stronger because I simply put pressure on d4 straight away. Okay, I'm going to continue with my plan of getting my knight into f5. I have to play quickly. Luckily for me, there is no way for him to target my pawn. My bishop is covering both of these squares, so the a6 pawn is never in trouble. The same cannot be said about d4 though. Okay, knight f5. I'm not blundering anything, I think. Now if he plays knight b4 or bishop b4, I can take with check on d4 first. Okay, I need to get away from the dark squares, definitely. So king e8. I think is okay. Just getting away from bishop b4 being check. Okay. Can I play bishop e7 here? I think I can. Okay, now my plan was bishop to d8. Bishop d8, bishop b6, but he plays knight c6. And then knight either b8 or b4. Okay, he didn't play it, so I'm going to play bishop to b6. He has to go knight c6 now. Oh, we're here. Do I have to prevent h5? Okay, I will just play bishop back to c7. And try to get some knight checks in with knight e3. Can I take that knight? I badly want to take this knight. I'm going to take the knight. And then play knight g7, just preventing this. And then I'll get my king in and try to win on this side of the board. Because his king is not getting in. I don't know if this is good knight versus bad bishop, I don't think it is, but at least this way I'm stopping counterplay. And I don't think he is creating a passed pawn this way. Oof. Why would he do that? This just gives me a clear target. And a way in for my king. I think he should have played bishop f2. Okay, for the moment I'm going to prevent this still, and then I'll do this. I'll get into the position completely. I don't want to allow... no, not a draw. I don't want to allow h5. Yeah, I broke through. I think because my king is so good, I'm just winning now. Because soon I'll be attacking all of his pawns. Okay, I think taking was the correct decision. Taking the knight. My knight is superior after g6 and knight g7. Yeah, okay. This is a great example of how a knight is much better than a bishop. Now I'm just picking up everything. Okay. Whew. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he should resign. I don't know why he isn't resigning, but let's play, I guess. Okay, I think I definitely shouldn't have missed shouldn't have missed that knight d4 simply fails. That was the first. That was the first problem. Okay. Let me just show you what I was talking about. In the normal exchange variation, where this happens, and knight c6 and c3, this pawn is defended, so he doesn't have to play this, and he can play bishop f4, preventing bishop d6. And usually in these variations, after d5, knight c3, bishop g4, this is how white should play. And this is the two knights. And here, I think he went badly wrong. I think black is already slightly better. But let's get to this critical position. Yeah, okay, of course, this is what I was looking at, which simply fails. Interesting was this, which I was trying to calculate. But I think in this position... Oh, I'm just a moron. I'm just a moron. He has rook a8. He has rook a8. It's not about my bishop. My rook is hanging. So, yeah. So in this position, what do I even do? I don't even know what to do here. Maybe I can take? No, I cannot take. Yeah, that was a huge blunder. So here I would probably have to play bishop here. And then what, just rook a7 or rook a8 and then rook a7? No, just rook a7, I think. And then here. So I think this is bad. Okay, so I think it was incorrect to do that. And then here, in this endgame, I feel that taking the knight was a good decision. Maybe I should have taken earlier. Yeah. This I feel is winning. Let me just check this with an engine. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Okay, it's not too bad, but it's not too good either. I just need to castle. Okay, and let's see the end game. Equal, black is slightly better. It's still equal. So where did he go wrong? Ah, yeah, of course, a5, because I thought he should play bishop f2. Yeah, after this my king just gets in. Okay. Okay, so I finally won. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.